religiosity they may conceal their worldly love and passion worship. In short, the darker their inside is, the more they make a show of their outward brightness. But the affairs of the people of hereafter are totally different. They beautify their internal self through total obedience to Allah's commands and adorn their faith with the graceful jewel of humanity. They also pay attention to their outward beauty, but only to the extent it does not come into conflict with humanity, piety and righteousness, and only up to the limit fixed by Sharia. For example, a woman who makes herself attractive for her husband, or a man who looks into a mirror just to ensure that there is nothing in his appearance or dress that can make people abhor him, or one who wants to keep his dress always clean and who intends to express God's blessings on him. If he has money, he may spend it in constructing his house and also in such other works which are permitted by Islam. In short, wise people beautify themselves and their possessions in obedience of God, not for self-showing, for self-glorification. Those who are not aware of the truth become proud of their worldly wealth, power, fame, race and lineage, and then show arrogance to others, so much so, that the white-skinned shows his pride to the black-skinned. In short, today's man shows his superiority over others on the basis of imaginary and elusive things. Be he a head of a state or a common man, by becoming an egotist, he forgets the truth about his existence and so also his everlasting spiritual life. He does not try to extend the progress of his spiritual path towards perfection, the path that does not end at death. The truth is that had such people not forgotten their death, and had they remembered that they have to become dust after entering their graves, they would have been ashamed of their egotism and false pride. But since the knowledgeable people are aware of the truth about their worldly life and regard their entire material life as illusory, they consider false pride a foolish thing, which is contrary to wisdom and intelligence. These are the people who, apart from faith and righteousness, which is the barometer of their graceful humanity, consider all people equal. They are of firm opinion that nobody has a right to show pride on the basis of his short-living worldly possessions and elusive things, because, according to Quran, surely the most honorable of you with Allah is the one among you most careful of his duty. 251. 5. Abundance of wealth and children. Those who keep the view of existence limited only to this worldly life and have no faith in the words of the prophets about the hereafter have, in fact, forgotten the very aim of life. Day in and day out, they keep struggling only for increasing their wealth and property. This way of working of theirs is in truth contrary to human intelligence and wisdom, because man needs wealth only for meeting the needs of his worldly life, which is of course temporary. For example, he needs a house for living. He requires clothes to protect himself from cold and heat, and to protect his honor. He needs food to maintain the strength of his body. He has a longing for a wife for gratifying his sexual instincts and for preserving the human race, and so on. Therefore, one who gathers wealth more than necessary is behaving like the hell-fire, which always cries for more, or he acquires the habit of Qarun, which is of course against wisdom, intelligence and reason. Does human intelligence not tell us that so far as collection or gathering is concerned, stone and coin both are equal? The question is what benefits the gathered wealth and property will give after death. It cannot be denied that wise, intelligent and reasonable people do not keep trying only for wealth and property, nor do they push it away when available. But, in truth, they endeavor to earn money only to meet the necessities of their lives, and they use it for beautifying their hereafter. They do not love wealth for its own sake. They acquire it only in the way and manner permitted by Allah, and also spend it only in the manner ordered by Him. In this way, they aim for both their world and the hereafter. In contrast to this, the group of the world lovers is greedy of their worldly wealth. Their effort is to acquire money by any means, even if the rights of the poor and the weak are trampled. As they have no faith in the hereafter, they also do not spend it in the path of Allah. In short, it can be said that the sign of world lovers is greed and miserliness, whereas the sign of the hereafter lovers is contentment and generosity. Do not pass on cursorily, but ponder. After reading what has been mentioned in this holy verse about the 5 specialties of the worldly life, do not pass on cursorily but think deeply about it. The first word of the verse 252 is no. That is, no. that the worldly life is only like this. Hence it is the responsibility of those who believe in the Holy Quran to ponder over these words, to analyze them, to be acquainted with it and to get rid of the illness of world love. It is also essential to ponder over other similar verses and apply them to our lives. Briefly speaking, in these verses, worldly life is compared to a fertile agricultural land in which seeds are sown and raining clouds have turned it into a flowering field, which gives coolness to the eyes. Then, because of burning heat or for any other reason it becomes dry and yellow, then it is scattered away and finally either winter winds or any other calamity destroys it. Youth also was a spring season, which passed away. Human life is also liable to such rise and fall. If on one hand, there is heat and freshness of youth, on the other slackness and old age infirmities await him. If there is, on the one hand safety, health and comfort, on the other he has to face illness, disability and unpalatable conditions. If he sometimes gets power and leadership, poverty and destitution also target him. Along with name and fame, defamation is also destined for him. If on one hand there is enthusiasm, stagnation and despair are also likely to visit him. In order to understand the truth about all this, it is enough to look at the graves of those who have passed away. This world is a place of warning. Amirul Mu'minin A.S., giving details of worldly life, says, this world is a transient abode, a place of troubles, a venue of changes and a location of warning. It is because of the temporality of the world that time has took up its bow. Its aim never fails. There is no refuge from the shots of its troubles. The wounds inflicted by it drive or push the injured towards death, the healthy towards illness and calm, and peace towards restlessness and troubles. It is like an eater who is never gratified, a drinker whose thirst is never quenched. It is only because of the worldly anxieties due to which man gathers a thing which he himself does not eat. He constructs an abode in which he does not reside. When he reaches his Lord, he has neither any wealth nor any building. One of the signs of world's changes is weakness and agedness, which is being pitied by everyone. Sometimes a pauper suddenly becomes rich. You also see that sometimes a wealthy person turns at once poor in such a way that all pity him. One of the lessons worth taking from the world is that man almost reaches his aim and suddenly death arrives and draws a curtain between him and his goals. 253. Several historical events testify to each one of the above-mentioned four specialties of this world. We give only two, considering them sufficient. Emir Ismail took his 10,000 mounted soldiers with him and rushed to encounter Amr bin La'is Safar, who had 70,000 experienced warriors. When both armies came face to face and the war drum sounded, suddenly the horse of Amr revolted. It became uncontrollable and took Amr right into the midst of the enemy ranks. Thus Emir Ismail won even without fighting. He took Amr captive and imprisoned him in a tent. It is said that Amr saw his one-time servant passing from there. Amr called him and said that he was hungry. The servant had some meat. But since he had no vessel to cook, he put that meat in a bucket, from which horses drank, lighted a fire beneath it and busied himself in cooking. In the meantime there came up a dog. It put its mouth in the bucket. The hot material scalded its tongue. It tried to retreat, but the handle of the bucket trapped its neck and the dog ran with the bucket and everything in it. Seeing this, Amr smiled. Onlookers asked him what was there to smile at. Amr replied, "Today the man in charge of my canteen was complaining that the load of the royal canteen was proving heavy even for 300 beasts of burden. But now I see that a single dog is carrying it away so easily." 254. Most surely there is a lesson in this for those who have sight. 255. The Abbasid Caliph, Qahir Billah, had ruled for 1 year, 5 months and 8 days. During this period he gathered a lot of wealth. He was infamous for his dishonesty, corruption, destruction, bloodshed and oppression. At last the Turks captured him, blinded him with a hot needle and threw him out of his palace. History has recorded that he was begging like other blind people and sitting near mosques used to beg, plead to the people, "Please give me some charity, because some time ago